Hello, everyone. For my project, I chose to research a figure whose life reflects many of the themes we study this semester in Asian American studies, such as immigration, race, oppression, resilience, pan-ethnic identity, and activism. Today, I'll be talking about Harry Wu, a Chinese-born American activist who survived 19 years in forced labor. He immigrated to the United States and later became one of the most influential Asian American human rights advocates of the 20th century. I chose him because his life connects deeply to the topic we covered, especially stereotypes, structural racism, AAPI, identity formation, and resistance against oppressive systems. Harry Wu was born in Shanghai in 1937. His family belonged to the middle class, but during the political upheavals of the 50s, they were labeled as enemies. At age 23, Wu was arrested and sent to the Laogai, a Chinese forced labor camp system similar to the Soviet Gulag. Laogais are similar to organized factories containing large numbers of people who were considered too critical to the government or counter-revolutionaries. However, many arrested for political or religious reasons or that were released in the 1970s at the start of the Deng Xiaoping reforms. In the 21st century, it is believed by critics that Laogai camps produce products for sale in foreign countries, with the profits going to the PRC government. Products include everything from green tea to industrial engines to coal dug from mines. Wu spent 19 years there, enduring starvation, physical punishment, and grueling labor. His experience illustrates a form of state violence, something we discuss repeatedly in the course. Just like many Asian migrants we study, Wu's early life shaped by instability, discrimination, and displacement. As the photo taken here in 1965, this is Harry Wu during the Laogai labor camp, which has been what's it was considered been 5 years from now at that time. In 1985, Harry Wu immigrated to the United States as a visiting scholar and later gained permanent residency there. Coming to America was not easy, though. He arrived with very little money and no family alongside with him. But the US became the space where he rebuilt his identity, pursued education, and eventually became an important voice in Asian American political activism. His story fits into the larger history of Asian immigration we studied, where immigrants face trauma, loss, and attempts to rebuild belongings in a new country. After immigrating, Wu dedicated his life to exposing human rights abuses. He testified before US Congress, founded the Laogai Research Foundation, and helped pass laws banning the imports of forced labor goods. He also collaborated with other Asian Americans diaspora communities with similar struggles and similar backgrounds as him. His activism challenged the stereotype that Asian Americans are passive, apolitical, or compliant, stereotypes we study under the model minority myth. Instead, Wu represents the long tradition of AAPI resistance. One major theme from our course is how stereotypes shape AAPI's lives. Harry Wu's life directly contradicts those stereotypes. The model minority myth portrays Asian as obedient, silent, academically gifted, and politically disengaged, but Wu was openly confrontational, outspoken, and critical. He challenged state power, advocated for justice, and used his voice to expose injustice. He shows how API individuals are not monolithic and cannot be reduced to simplified myths. A topic we discussed in class is pan-ethnicity, the idea of different Asian groups sometimes come together under the broader label like Asian American. Harry Wu's activism is a strong example of this. His work alongside not only Chinese immigrants, but also Vietnamese refugees, Tibetan activists, Taiwanese Americans, and Korean Americans organizations. His work shows how AAPI communities built solidarity by identifying shared experiences of oppression, migration, and identity struggles. At his time in the United States, he opened the Laogai Museum in Washington, D.C., which is the ever first museum to ever address this issue about forced labor in the mainland, which is a museum that he explores his struggles and the struggles of others who were in part of the Laogai labor camp. And in the photo alongside, you can see a man in the middle, which is the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet, which he left his country for similar reasons as Harry Wu. Wu's story reflects broader themes of structural oppression. His imprisonment shows how governments construct racialized or political others to justify repression, similar to how the US created the perpetual foreigner stereotype for Asians or the wartime incarceration of Japanese Americans. Even after immigrating, Wu still faced stereotypes, political suspicion, and racialized assumptions, showing how oppression follows AAPI immigrants across borders. This connects to what we learn is that racism is not only interpersonal, it is structural. Studying Harry Wu helped me see how much his life intersect with our course. His activism challenges the model minority myth. His immigrant story reflects the racialized belonging and the feeling of being a perpetual foreigner. His trauma highlights the psychological experiences of immigrants, similar to what we learned about intergenerational pain in many AAPI families. His cross-community organizing demonstrates pan-ethnicity, Asian Americans together, coming together despite different backgrounds or struggles. And his resistance showed that AAPI history includes activism and not just stereotypes. Harry Wu's life teaches us that Asian Americans' identity is indeed complex and deeply tied to global histories. It reminds us that AAPI communities are not silent or apolitical. They have long participated in struggles for human rights and democracy, just like others. His activism encourages us to think critically about oppression and resistance and how Asian American voices can contribute to shaping more just systems. In conclusion, Harry Wu's story provides an important perspective on what it means to be Asian American. His life allowed us to connect nearly every major theme from his class, like oppression, resistance, stereotypes, pan-ethnicity, immigration, and identity. Despite passing away at age 70, his work and including novels have inspired many and create long-living legacy, with many others trying to achieve similar goals as him. He reminds us that Asian America is shaped by, not only by migration and culture, but by activism and the continuous fight for justice. Thank you.